What's poppin' YouTube? It's your boy Walter, and welcome back to Frequently Asked Furry Questions. Today's topic is going to be on fursuits. This is something that I hope that you can use to educate your family, your friends, anybody that might just not understand certain things about the fandom or just have questions in general. As well as I would like to help educate some of the younger or newer furries that are in this wonderful fandom of ours. So the first thing I want to start off with though isn't about fursuits entirely, but one of the questions or one of the things I often hear or like get asked about is, do you need a fursuit to be a furry? And the answer to that is an astounding absolutely not. Only about 15 to 25% of the fandom even owns fursuits. And with the amount of furries there are in the entire world, that's actually quite a small number if you really think about, that percentage range. Um, and then even then, some furries may just have like a head or a paws and a tail. You don't need a fursuit though to be a furry. So the next thing I want to get to, and this is the first question that I usually hear when people ask about fursuits, is are they hot? And let me tell you, the answer to that is absolutely yes. They get real warm, real toasty. Uh, these things are made out of like foam and usually a lining on the inside and fur. And, ventilation is decent depending on the fursuit maker and their style. But even then, there's still not a whole lot of it. So, yes, these things do get very hot. Now, the question you might ask is, well, if it's so hot and on occasion uncomfortable, why do it to begin with? Well, there are certain things that you can do to help mitigate the heat while wearing a fursuit. Number one is the obvious: take frequent breaks. If you feel like you're getting too hot or like you might even pass out, as sometimes does happen in your fursuit or just wearing your fursuit head, take it off. You either go find somewhere, to like sit down away from people if need be. But if it's getting to the point where you feel like you might pass out, take it off. There exists a concept in the fandom called preserving the magic or protecting the magic, and that's a great concept. But if you're about to pass out, that shouldn't matter. Your health should come first before protecting any kind of magic, as it's called. So make sure you take frequent breaks and don't hesitate to take your head or whatever off if you need to. Now, the other things that some people do to kind of mitigate the heat while they're still wearing their fursuit, um, some people have fans built into their fursuits, and then some people, especially people that are in full suits, will have like these uh, vests that have like pockets to put like ice packs in. Some people will have fans that hang around their neck that they can just stick like under the neck, or in the mouth of their fursuit. These are very important things to have, especially if you're going to go shooting at like a convention for a long time, or if you're going to go outside, especially with it being summer. Like it's I think 84 degrees out right now, and you'd be crazy to go out. Maybe you might even be crazy just to go out for shooting in this in general. But you'd be crazy to go out there with some kind of backup plan. It's also very important to drink plenty of water, plenty of Gatorade, just something to keep you hydrated. I don't recommend, soda, because that's going to make you a lot less hydrated. Something else that I might recommend, there's something else that fursuiters often do to keep themselves cool. When wearing a full suit, believe it or not, it's very ill advised to go uh, in the buff under your fursuit, because these things, while they're very wonderful and I mean, some bits of them are more durable than others, sweat can kind of make things really gross, really wet, really uncomfortable. If you don't properly clean things, they can. There's even stories I've heard of people getting like black mold in their suits and stuff from not taking proper care of them. So it's important that they wear Under Armour or some kind of equivalent. Like it doesn't have to be Under Armour brand or anything per se. It's just something to wick away the heat and the sweat from walking around in a giant fluffy carpet. So that's just like the first thing I want to address. Yes, fursuits get hot. Now the next thing I would like to address, and the next question that I often hear is, how is the vision? Well, I can tell you that that is a question dependent on the fursuit maker and on the style of that fursuit. Typically, like for Walter, you can see I've got my nose right here and my eyes are over here, so I can't see anything really like directly in front of me. My peripheral vision almost is better than my front vision. So like if I were to put my hands to like right here, this is as much as I can see. Now again, some fursuit heads may have better vision or worse vision than others, which is why I want to get to really the point that I was trying to make with answering this question. If you see a fursuiter out anywhere, do not, and I repeat, do not just run up and grab them or hug them or do anything without first trying to get their attention or their what is known as a handler's attention. A handler being somebody that takes care of the fursuiter while they're in fursuit. Making sure they get enough water and making sure that nobody gets too rough with the fursuit, because these fursuits, I mean, they ain't cheap. But we'll get to that in just a moment. It's very important to don't run up and tackle a fursuiter, even if you might know them. We can't see, anything. Like I can't see in front of me or behind me for obvious reasons. If you run up and just grab a fursuit, we're gonna assume we're under attack by somebody, and probably freak out a bit. And some people just genuinely, so sometimes that can be triggering to people just randomly being grabbed like a fursuiter. And most fursuiters are genuinely very open and very apt to take a hug or take a few pictures or whatever. It is very, very important that you get our attention or our handler's attention before you have any kind of contact. Consent is key, especially when you can't see. So the next question I want to kind of get to is, how durable or fragile are they? Well, again, this depends on quite a few factors. For heads specifically, some heads are made out of a foam and are rather, squishy. You don't want to squish me too much. Some heads, however, are made of a resin or, harder, heavier materials that don't really the good thing about using foam is that for the most part, as long as the damage isn't too bad, it'll eventually, over time, bounce back. If I, swish the cheek on here, it kind of bounces back. Now, but some fursuiters, like I said, their heads are made out of a resin, which is hard and heavy. If that breaks, it's broken. There's not really much that can be done to repair that. So that's also another reason that I'm, very much want to instill the idea of don't just run up and tackle a fursuiter, because that exist are in the thousands, or most of them are in the thousands of dollars, but some of them exceed that, in the tens of thousands of dollars even. If you go and you break a fursuiter's fursuit, you're going to have a bad time, and you're going to ruin the fursuiters and everybody around them's time, because this investment that they spent a bunch of money into, is broken or damaged, and they're either going to have to pay to get it fixed, or they're just going to be without their, investment, to put it best. So, just be careful, which I would hope that anybody that's interested in these videos would understand that, So, alright, so the next thing I want to address, is, okay, you've got consent to to go up and, interact with the fursuit. What can't I do, or what should I be aware of? Well, the first thing you should obviously be aware of, like I said, is the fragility of some of the fursuits. So don't go and boops on the nose, like gentle ones, are typically okay. I would ask permission first. But don't go and just jam your, hand into someone's face because there's, person's face underneath this. Like my nose lines up with my nose pretty well. And if you jam my nose into you push on my nose, you're jamming foam and stuff right into my face. And I'm not going to be happy about that, and most other people aren't going to be happy about it. And with resin and stuff, like the harder, heavier materials that often get used, you're gonna possibly hurt somebody, and nobody wants to do that. So another thing to be aware of is keep, obviously before touching, even remotely, consent. Hugs are typically okay, but keep. I would recommend keeping all like touching of the fursuit, unless instructed otherwise, from like the shoulders up, because some fursuiters or some fursuits, you might be thinking, oh, I'm going to rub the belly, but some fursuits, especially in what are known as drop crotch fursuits, which I'll share right here, that are usually made to give more of the like the animal look to a fursuit. A lot of the more like the drop crotches, you might be going to rub someone's belly, and you're touching them in places that they don't want to be touched in for very obvious reasons. So just kind of be mindful of things. Like don't just go up and rub someone's belly because you could very much be touching other things, and nobody wants that, non-consensual or anything like that. All right, so I'm gonna get to the question that a lot of people are probably wondering, and it's a question that's got a lot of different bits to it. How expensive or how much is the cost of a fursuit? Well, that of course, like a lot of things in this video, are going to vary by the fursuit maker. It's going to vary by complexity, by species sometimes, because some species are more complex than others. The colors of the fur, patterns, markings, things that you want that are typically to bring your character to life. One thing I do want to stress though before I get super into things with the cost of fursuits, don't ask fursuit makers for free fursuits. You're typically going to get told no, and it's typically found to be very rude, just like asking like an artist for free art. Fursuits are not cheap to make. The cost of fur is rather high. They've got to buy foam, or if they work with resin. They've also got to, of course, some people do this as a living. This is how they make all of their money. So, you wouldn't go to like Walmart and just be like, hey, can I have this TV for free? And then, complain when they tell you no. If a fursuit maker costs too much, go somewhere else, or just don't get a fursuit. You do not need a fursuit. They are what is known as a luxury, meaning it's something that you could absolutely live without. Now, back to reality. Oops, there goes gravity. The cost of a fursuit can range anywhere from sometimes, $1,000 to $5,000, and even here more recently, a fursuit, a protogen head, which I kind of showed in my last video, sold on the dealer's den for $15,000. And this is just a head. Now, I'll show the picture of it here again, and you can, take a look at it. And the reason, of course, the head like that one might cost more than most heads is because protogens themselves, which is here is another picture of protogens. There's a lot of LEDs and electrical work and programming and stuff sometimes that can go into making those fursuits. So they cost quite a bit more than your typical regular fursuit, to put it best. So yeah, fursuits are expensive. They're expensive to make. If you really want a fursuit, though, I recommend saving up money, getting a ref sheet, which is typically, like I've got here, a front, a back, and maybe sides of your character, so that the fursuit maker doesn't just have to kind of guess or go off of a description that you might give of your character and what they look like. So yeah, so fursuits, like I said, they cost a lot. which is also why I push the whole be careful around fursuiters, because we've spent a lot of money and a lot of time, investing in bringing our characters to life. So just be careful. Don't ask for free fursuits. Um, and yeah, just genuinely be kind. Be kind to your fursuit makers. So that I hope answers a lot of questions about fursuits and fursuiting. I'm gonna link that Google Forms thing in the description box, which I encourage anybody that watches this video to fill out, or if you're just curious to check it out. And thank you, and again, this has been Frequently Asked Furry Questions. I have been Walter, and you have been awesome.